Your knife is big.
It's a sword.
It's bigger than mine.
And now you've made it awkward.
Welcome back. Let's talk about EA and their surprise mechanics. Loot boxes. Initially, I wasn't going to do a video about this, and it wasn't until I spoke to some friends of mine that I decided to make a video. So, let's jump into this. Electronic Arts, EA, and Epic Games spoke before the UK Parliament's Digital, Culture, Media, and Sports Committee to talk about whether loot boxes were an ethical feature in games because of the close link between loot boxes and gambling. And let's keep in mind that minors have access to loot boxes. I will have some links in the description so that you can read these for yourself. A representative from EA, Carrie Hopkins, said that they don't call them loot boxes, they call them surprise mechanics, and compared them to Hatchimals, LOL Surprise, and Kinder Eggs. She also said that surprise mechanics were implemented ethically in FIFA and were fun. And she said that she doesn't consider surprise mechanics gambling. Now, in comparison, Epic Games said that they removed the random element in loot boxes for the non-battle royale part of Fortnite, but they admitted that there was more that they could do. So, let's be clear. Going back to Carrie Hopkins, what players would prefer to do is to be able to have a reasonable way to unlock the things they want in games that they purchased, but that's beside the point, I guess. So, anyway, loot boxes are created to be addicting. Do they have a surprise element to them? Yes, because you don't know what you're going to get. Some have cool opening animations and music, so that when a player opens them, they get a rush. And honestly, I've seen people open loot boxes and they say things that I've heard people say when, like for example, I was in Vegas and in front of a slot machine. Well, I've purchased this amount, so the odds are in my favor that XYZ is going to drop. I mean, honestly, it reminds me of the slot machine spinning animations, waiting for it to end, and what people say. It really does. Anyway, back to EA. I don't play FIFA. So I have some friends who do about their experiences with the surprise mechanic. I'm sorry, I just can't stop laughing at that. It's surprise mechanics in FIFA or sports games in general. And they told me that they viewed the loot boxes like digital baseball cards. Now, I don't have a lot of baseball cards, but I've posted in the past. I have a pretty large basketball card collection. I haven't purchased cards in years, but I know the experience of buying the cards, opening the pack, and hoping for that sweet card, you know, being in there that I wanted so bad. I remember that. Good times, actually. And the surprise at finding out that, you know, you got a card that you didn't think was worth something but was actually, you know, pretty good, but we won't talk about that. So anyway, so I told my friends there's a huge difference between buying baseball cards and loot boxes. When you buy baseball cards, you own them. You can freely trade them, sell them, hold on to them, destroy them. Depending on the player, some cards have an increase in value and can become valuable if you hold on to them. That's not the case with loot boxes. When you purchase a game, you're actually legally renting it. Honestly, the gaming industry has gotten away with calling it purchases or purchasing when it's really rentals, renting. When you rent a car or an apartment, they don't call it purchases, do they? No, of course not. Anyway, You purchase a license to use the game as long as the gaming company allows you to. And the gaming company is in complete control of what that period of time is. The license can be terminated at any time. Players are not allowed to sell or trade, most times, items because they don't own it in the first place. A good example of this? Telltale Games. There are some games that if the player didn't download it, or for whatever reason, like a hard drive loss or something like that, they lose the digital copy of their game, they cannot download it again. That money's gone. The game is gone. It's just gone. With your baseball cards, basketball cards, your collectibles, the company can go out of business. And matter of fact, what happens makes whatever you have a lot of times worth a whole lot more, doesn't it? So, when a player purchases loot boxes in FIFA, a game that they already paid for, they are purchasing the chance at winning an item that they won't own for a game they don't own. Wait for a new game to come out and you'll see streams, that has loot boxes. You'll see streams showing the streamer opening hundreds of dollars of loot boxes. And rarely are they over the moon with joy at getting what they wanted. Now compare that from a profit standpoint, from just allowing the players to purchase the things they wanted. Oh wait, that's pay to win, isn't it? Okay, compare that to having a reasonable way to unlock the items that players want in the game that they've already purchased. That profit difference, man. That's why loot boxes are so popular with gaming companies. So when I reminded my friends that they're spending that much money on something they don't own, they saw it as unwise. Now, I don't care about how much they spend or what they spend their money on. I literally don't care. They're grown. They can do what they want to do. They've been doing it this whole time. But they forgot that they don't own it. See, I didn't come from the standpoint of saying, what are you doing? What the hell? I just wanted to know the mechanics of loot boxes in games that I don't play. So they admitted that they got caught up in the hype, the love of the games, the season. When people purchase the items Hopkins mentioned, in comparison, they are much cheaper and they own whatever the surprise is. If kids are exposed to loot boxes, at the very least, it's teaching them how to throw their money away and make unwise purchasing decisions. Can't get around that because there are many more ways that money could be spent to improve their future than buying loot boxes. So, how do we fix this? Well, let's look at the definition of gambling. When you gamble, you are spending money on something you don't know the outcome of. When you bet on a poker game or a slot machine, you may win something or you may lose your money. There isn't a set value in the outcome, so you are gambling at the chance to win something. With baseball cards, collectibles, etc., each item purchased has a value. With card collections, there's magazines and digital software that you can purchase that will tell you the value of each card. There are some cards that are worth millions. When you open a loot box, while you get something for each box you open, the item doesn't have a monetary value to the player because the player doesn't own it in the first place. Therefore, since it has a random element and no monetary value to the player, it's by the very definition gambling. And keep in mind, since you don't own the game, all those things you purchased one day will be taken away from you. Whereas with collectibles, etc., they're yours unless you lose them. It's really that straightforward. Want loot boxes not to be gambling? Give ownership to players and an initial monetary value for the items. Eventually, players will make the value rise or fall based on the popularity of the item. They're getting something for their money. With loot boxes, you're not getting anything for your money because you don't own it in the first place. Gaming companies are not going to give ownership to players, consumers, because it's not in their best interest to do so. So, gaming companies, you need to be prepared to say goodbye to loot boxes. You've gotten away with a lot for many years. Count your blessings. But that gravy train will eventually end. Okay, that's it for this one. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think that it's gambling? Does it bother you in general that you purchase a game and you don't own it? Just in generalities, like if you bought one of those Telltale games that is no longer available to you now, even though you bought it, you can't go back to where you purchased it from to download it. So does that bother you? Then does it bother you to get the items that you want? In certain games, you have to buy loot boxes to get a chance at getting what you want. And you don't own that either. Does that bother you? And does it bother you in general? DLC, because you know what's going to happen when loot boxes go away. DLC is going to make a strong comeback with you having to buy, the things that you want that way. Would that bother you? Or would you just rather go back to the good old days where you paid for a game and you got the game and you could just play the game? What do you prefer? And one thing that I didn't mention, with gambling, you can offset your losses. Wouldn't that be sweet? With loot boxes. All right, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.